quite often we come across these kind of blocks to working with people in the ways that we're seeing here. And one of the main reasons that comes up is this issue about health and safety.
Yeah.
And so there are kind of some main things that come out quite often. The first one of those is this issue about danger, that things are dangerous. And I guess for me the two examples, the key examples of this are ironing. I very, very rarely see people ironing, and kettles, and people actually being near kettles and using kettles. And it is just that issue about it feels like there's a block with certain things, that people just think it's too dangerous, it's too difficult to do.
And things like also using knives as well. So people often have a blanket assumption that people can't use knives, rather than thinking, how can I help people use the knife safely to cut their cheese or whatever it is that they're going to do. So I agree, we see a lot of kind of avoidance of danger rather than people thinking how to get people involved. And there's lots of ways for people to safely use a kettle, using a kettle cradle, for example, or a kettle where you just press a button and it delivers 1 cup of water, so that people can have more independence in making their cup of tea or coffee, for example.
For some people, it's the size of the kettle. You don't need to have a kettle that's that big. You can have a small kettle, which actually is easier for the person to lift and manage. And so you can reduce the risk down by thinking about it differently, rather than just removing the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And just even things like putting less water in the kettle. Even if you have to have a big one, not making it so heavy, so people have a better chance of doing. So there's lots of ways to think around it, isn't there, for some of these issues, and it's about working out what works for that person, so they can have the maximum involvement in the activity, and not just saying, well, they can't use the kettle because it's hot.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other kind of category, I guess, in terms of things around health and safety, is this idea that things might get broken, that someone might break things.
Yeah.
And again, there feels like there's a kind of an avoidance of anything that might get damaged. But it's about getting the support right, rather than actually saying, so we won't let people near breakable objects for that to happen. And it also means that we don't necessarily replace all the breakable objects with other things. I've certainly been to places where I've seen lots of plastic plates.
Yes.
And that's not what we want to see either. What we want to see is people actually being supported to use the things, the appropriate things, successfully, so that actually they can use them safely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a really good example of Joe being supported by Dennis, haven't we? Where the first time that he tries to take a cup out of the cupboard, he drops it. So Dennis reaches in, and as if by magic there's another cup exactly the same behind it, and then supports him a bit more. So he increases the assistance he gives him to ensure success second time round. And there's no fuss made about it. It doesn't matter. It's just a cup.
You pull it open, Joe. That's a bit more. That's it. Well done. Can you reach your cups? There's the one there. Whoops, broke it. Never mind, that's okay. Come on. Get another one, Joe, that's alright. That's alright. Come get another one. Just put that one in the bin. There you go, there's another one there. Yeah, get a little bit closer this time. There you are, there's one there. You manage? And I'll make sure you don't drop this one. There you are. Put it on the top. On the top.
You know what's doing. I'll pour your milk in here, and then it's not so heavy for you to hold. That's it. Do you want to put some more? Is it all gone?
The other thing that comes up a lot is this issue about hygiene. So we get a lot of people saying, well, we can't do that because it's a hygiene issue. And so this might be about that actual people's own hygiene in terms of people putting their hands in their mouth, particularly around working with things like food, that people will say, well, actually, so people can't be in the kitchen, people can't do things, people can't be involved in meal preparation. If a person's cooking their own meals, those things are not an issue. So that actually it's about not removing the opportunity completely, but thinking about ways that people can still experience those everyday meaningful things, but in ways that are safe for other people.
Lost it. Come on. There we go. Right, we're going to mix it. Are you ready?
So I guess the main thing is to be thinking about when those things happen or when there are reasons why we can't do things, that actually it really is about managing risk rather than just avoiding any risk at all. So the idea is to actually look at what's going on and think about how can I manage that to make it as safe as possible and to still ensure the person has the opportunities. Perhaps not the way you'd normally do it, but thinking about doing it differently, so adapting it so that it can actually be available to people. And there are loads of different ways to adapt activities.
And one of the examples that comes to mind for me is you know, and this is about making it successful. If something ends up being aversive for the person, that's a risk, isn't it, as well? So the person doesn't experience it positively. And you can, and one example is if you're trying to wash a car with somebody who really has a problem with getting wet or getting dirty and having to change their clothes, then actually it's not that you say, well, we can't ever wash the car. You have to make another adaptation, and generally you have to either wear waterproofs or have some way of covering the person, have some way of washing the car that allows them to use, for example, a long-handled brush so they don't get too close to the car, etc. And of course, one of the things we have to be careful about is that adaptations that we use should preferably be age-appropriate adaptations. So quite often, for people who can't hold a cup very well, we see people with kind of baby feeder cups. Where actually nowadays that's not necessary because most of us have used a travel mug at some point in the car or as we're travelling on the train that has a lid that has a kind of a sip point on it, and actually that can work for many people who maybe are a bit shaky when they're holding their cup. And also nowadays we've got all sorts of sports bottles for water and juice with, you know, they can have the football team sports mug, and actually those things don't have to be, you know, replaced by something that's kind of babyish.
I mean, there are other issues around age appropriateness as well, aren't there, around the types of activities that people have. I've been to a number of places where I've seen people surrounded by toys and nursery kind of type toys. Or it's about how people are perceived, and it's about creating a situation where we see people as adults all the time. And again, it feels to me like there's a whole range of things out there now for adults that actually do the same sorts of things. So there are lots of sensory kind of adult, age-appropriate things that you can now get hold of. So you don't have to use baby rattles and, you know, those sorts of things. That
Hoover comes to mind. That does a really good job of providing vibration if you like vibrations. Or the washing machine having it, or the tumble dryer working, doesn't it? So there's even, not just even objects, but actually the real activities can often be a source of that sensory stimulation that sometimes people are craving, and they're getting out of baby rattles or baby toys and things like that.
I think what we're not saying when we're talking about this, though, is actually just taking things away from people, because some people have had toys and objects for a period of time, and we wouldn't want to be the people that are just saying let's take those things off people. But it is about trying to find alternatives and gradually introducing those alternatives over time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The other reason or the other excuse sometimes that people give is for not being able to work in this way with people is that they say they don't have enough staff, that actually this sort of working needs one-to-one staff. And we do know that actually people receive very little contact from staff. Research tells us that they actually receive very little time. Something around 8 minutes in every hour they receive contact from staff in the environment. And of that, only about 2% of that would be actual help to take part in activity or to do things. So people think that staffing is an issue, that there's not enough of them to go around everybody. But actually we know from a recent study that we don't need more staff to be able to do active support. We just need staff to be doing the right things with people, to be able to plan and to work out how to support people and to be using the right ways. And it's perfectly possible to support more than one person at a time. And we're going to look at some clips that illustrate staff supporting more than one person at a time. The first clip shows us that member staff supporting 3 people who are cooking and are using the same kitchen space but coming in and out of that space.
Pass the sauce. Right on bottom, Robbie, behind your tea bags. Out the way. Yeah, come there, tip. Yeah. Put your juice in cupboard. You done? Sorry, Lisa. Get some out.
Yeah.
And I'll put the kettle on to boil.
Yeah.
Yeah? Now what else do you need? Sauce. Spaghetti. And oil, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep stirring.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. You're done for the time being then.
Yeah. Yeah.
See you in a minute. Mix it round.
Oh, yeah.
Although the people are very definitely preparing their own meals, the staff member is there holding it all together, making it run smoothly, making sure that when one person's pasta is cooked, for example, that they come back in to do the next bit of it. And people are cooking their own meals, what they want, but sharing that space.
There's a great example there of the relationship they have with each other,
Yeah.
and that helping each other out. When we see that kind of Rob runs out of cheese, he doesn't have enough cheese for his dinner.
Robbie. Oh, I don't think we've got any cheese, Robbie. Thank you, Lisa.
And Lisa very kindly kind of goes and gets some from some of hers and shares that with him. And I think it is, it's those sorts of things that actually we want to be enabling people to do, because that's what housemates do. That's what you do. You help each other out.
Yeah. And of course, Tom is probably the person who needs the least support. And he comes in on his own. He wanted to wait, actually, until everybody else had finished. But he comes in when there's still people in the kitchen and effectively makes his own dinner with no support whatsoever. Whereas Robert needs substantially more support. And so the member staff is doing that, giving him more support.
And what's great is you see the staff member, she's supporting 3 very different people, and she has to do that in very different ways.
Yeah.
And she's able to kind of change her support as she's working with each person. And that can be quite a quick change. She can go from supporting Rob one way 1 minute and then to Lisa. But actually she's doing that all in a very, very kind of person-centred way, and she's able to get it right for each person.
Yeah.
Now there's an art to that, but actually it's certainly possible to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes quite a lot of practice, doesn't it? And also planning. It needs you to think about and know the people well, so that you have an idea of what support they need for each of those types of activities. But as you say, it is an art, it's a skill to be able to change your support from one person to the next within the matter of a couple of seconds. It's a very natural example of active support.
Yeah. Oh, duh.
The next clip is also a clip of people cooking, but this time it is 3 people who have much more severe intellectual and physical disabilities. And we've got one member of staff who starts off supporting 2 people, and at some points he supports a 3rd person, and then a second member of staff does a little bit as well. But together they're supporting a number of people to cook the evening meal. We're not going to comment on the rest of this video and just let you watch it, as it is also a good illustration of the essentials of active support.
We go 2 rounds. Ready there? Well done. What we'll do is Joe will have some mushrooms in as well, so you can help us cut some mushrooms. And Michael, you can cook some mushrooms as well. You want mushrooms in, Michael? Yeah. Right, I'll cut some with Joe first, Michael, and you can do some. Nice and short, mate. Don't let him Joe. Hey, Joe. Right, 1 at a time, nice and slow. without my finger. That's it. Just wait, kid. That's it. Go on then, Joe. Excellent. One more. Right, put the knife down, Joe. You put these in the pan for us. Now put them mushrooms in the pan, Joe. Remember, I want to keep these. Which hand do you hold the knife with? Right, I'll help you, guide you a little bit. That's it. We'll go that way. Lovely. We'll go that way again. We'll cut that one a little bit smaller. You can cut that one there yourself. That's it. One more. And that one. Excellent. Right, give me that knife, mate. You put them in the pan for us. And I'll go and get Vince and he can come in and he can set the table.
We want to get the cups.
So one fork over here. There was one fork for here. Come on, Joe. Pass one fork over here and put the cutlery out. What? One fork over here, Joe. Put them out for the table. Right, here. One over for Vince. Yeah. And what about one for Nicola? Yeah. One for Laura. Right. And a knife for Vince? A knife? I'll take that fork, Joe. And a knife for Vincent? Lovely. A knife for Nicola? And one for Laura? That's it. And what about one for you as well, Joe? Excellent. Excellent. Go on, you scoop that last bit. So don't worry about that bit. Right, and let go of that spoon. Lovely. Let's sell these. Right, squash that one down a little bit. Watch your fingers because it might be still a bit hot. I'll just spread that mince out for you a bit. And a bit more white sauce. All the way to the other end. Lovely. And spread it out. I've grated some cheese, mate, and then put some cheese on the top as well.
Do you think there'll be enough Pete and Nick line up?
Hopefully. Should
Put,
be.
and then maybe a little bit of salad or something.
Yeah, should be.
Like,
Right, right on.
next door then.
Right. Put a little bit of cheese on as well. Use your hand for the cheese. Right, I'll hold this here and you can put the cheese on. Right, a little bit at a time. Put that on that corner, not that space, on that corner. Lovely. That's it. I'll spread it out a little bit and then go in the oven.
Hello?
Right, you spread that little bit of cheese out. It's ready for the oven. $30. Yeah, should be ready. Yeah.
The other thing that's important around the issues of staffing is that there is actually some research that shows us that the more staff you have, sometimes the less support people actually get. And we find that sometimes staff tend to talk to each other rather than to the people that they support. And there's actually some research evidence that as you add staff, it reduces the amount of contact that people get from staff. And I think it's important to remember that, especially in the context of the more that you do for people, the less independent they are. And so we've got some nice examples of where there was a reduction in staff. Some of the people became more independent and were able to do more things for themselves because there wasn't always staff there to help them.
That what?